Hi everyone, I just finished reading this book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. Now, this book is actually surprisingly brilliant because when my friend suggested it to me, lent it to me, I said, well, I know how to breathe. I've been doing it successfully for my whole life. Apparently, I haven't. And you're probably having the same thought. I know how to breathe, but you haven't. And I will say one thing, the best book or the most transformative, the most life-changing book I've read on health this year is one I reviewed recently, Life Without Diabetes by Roy Taylor. That was lent to me by the same guy. And now, I struggled with weight loss just like most of us for a long time, but after reading that book, I lost 10 kilos easily, like that, over the course of 2 months, so call it 5 kilos a month, which is impressive, but actually I reckon I could have lost 10 kilos in 1 month if I'd actually stuck at it. I mean, I did this diet on and off, and when I say off, I mean off, like serious comfort eating, serious gorging myself, barbecues, parties, a 1 week holiday where I had chocolate, ice cream. I was in Switzerland, so all sorts. And so basically, just on the strength of his previous recommendation, I thought, you know what, I'll read it. It might be good. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I haven't read the back of it, so let me do that now, and then I'll tell you my impression of the book. And by the way, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 straight away, so I thoroughly recommend you read it. But here's what it says on the back. I would have thought that breathing was pretty simple and well understood. Then I read this book. Now I know it's a hugely complex and wondrous process which we need to understand much better. Fascinating and provocative stuff. Daniel M. Davis, author of The Beautiful Cure. If you want to read a book about the power of breath, this is it. Patrick McKeown, author of The Oxygen Advantage. Breath is an utterly fascinating journey into the ways we are wired. No matter who you are, you'll want to read this. Poe Bronson, I think I've heard of him, author of Nurture Shock, an eye-opening epic journey of human devolution that explains why so many of us are sick and tired. A must-read book that expresses what our healthcare system doesn't see. Dr. Stephen Y. Park, Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and author of Sleep Interrupted. I don't say this often, but when I do, I mean it. This book changed my life. Breath is part scientific quest, part historical insight, part hero's journey, full of groundbreaking ideas and a rollicking good read, a transformational book. Blimey. So here's some of the words I used. Caroline Paul, best-selling author of The Gutsy Gal. How can breathing be so complicated? Well, one of the most vital organs we have is our nose. But most people breathe through their mouth a lot of the time. So one of the things about your nose, I didn't know this, now this is interesting. Sorry, I've got a bit of sunburn on the back of my neck. I should be doing that. Your nose is actually lined with erectile tissue, the same as nipples, penises, etc. So it's very, very, very sensitive. And in fact, people who breathe better breathe through their nose because it goes on a use it or lose it rule, just like everything else, pretty much everything else. People who breathe better, they have better erections as well, apparently. So that's just one of the many things. Breathing's amazing, okay? There's a study, so these guys took part in the study. When I say these guys, I mean James Nestor and this other guy who met Olsson, a Swedish guy, who's what's called a pulmonaut, somebody who does explorations into the pulmonary system, breathing and everything. All kinds of crazy experiments, but some of the experiments that this guy's doing, for example, involve increasing, this is the Swedish guy, Olsson, increasing your level of carbon dioxide. Apparently carbon dioxide is really bad for us, right? It's actually really, really good for us. And there's some amazing studies I want to talk about in a second as well. But anyway, this guy, Olsson, who used to be a successful businessman, sold up his business, sold the flash house and the flash cars, got divorced, moved into a little flat and decided to study breathing. There's a lot to it. This guy is pretty smart. So anyway, they've been experimenting with taking more carbon dioxide, raising the level of carbon dioxide in the body, So this is what some of the people who've been doing this have said. User number 1. So, I'm in Toronto now and I've decided to go for a rollerblade. I'm a big rollerblader and have done this route by the water on the lakeshore many times before. But get this, no matter how hard I pushed it, and I pretty much gave it 110% the entire time, I not once needed to open my mouth to pant. Seems to make you fitter, give you better endurance, right? User 2. I did some carbon dioxide treatments 3 times yesterday, about 15 minutes apiece. Today I went canoeing, and when I had sex with my girlfriend, by the end of it she was panting and tired. I wasn't even out of breath at all. I felt like I was superhuman. User 3. This gets increasingly more explicit content. User 3. Holy fuck! I was breathing and I started to feel freaking amazing, euphoric even, to the point where breathing felt automatic. Why is increasing your carbon dioxide so good for you? Don't know exactly. There's actually been hundreds of years of research into breathing, and breathing in different ways, if you do it really well, it can actually cure things. There was a woman, I think she was a French woman, with scoliosis, curvature of the spine and everything, and nobody would treat her, so she decided to try and correct her scoliosis through breathing, basically inflating one lung as much as she could. And over many years, 5 years, this eventually straightened out her spine. For goodness sake, come on, this is amazing, right? The mystics. Now, I hate talking about mystics. There's all these stupid ideas like, oh, you go to some mountain in Nepal, in the Himalayas, or in India, and there's a man with a really long beard who can have sex with 20 women a night, and he's 300 years old, and he does it all through this magical breathing. Mysticism, bullshit, all that crap, right? Packaged up through hyperbole for Western consumption. But actually, breathing is really, really, really amazing. So there's the woman who cured her scoliosis. Over breathing, we all breathe a bit too much. Asthma can be cured according to this book, and lots of medical research on it, which is basically being just thrown away now, through proper breathing through the nose, meant to breathe through our noses. So the author and Olson, getting back to the point now, they plugged up their noses for 10 days and only breathed through their mouths. The amount of damage that did them, massive amounts of damage, to their heart, to their lungs, to their stress levels, to everything. And then basically they only breathed through the nose, taking it to the extent where they taped up their mouths during the sleep so they could only breathe through the nose. They slept better, sleep apnea disappeared, snoring disappeared, they got a hell of a lot healthier. There's so much to it. Now, I suggest you read it. I'm not going to tell you about the whole book. This is just me saying, this book is amazing, read it, and then telling you a bit about it. There was a girl called SM who had a condition where basically her amygdala got destroyed. So the amygdala sounds like something from Star Wars. The first 3 Star Wars were good, the rest of them are just shit. Unlike Rocky, right? Rocky 5, rubbish. Rocky Balboa, really good. But the amygdala basically had been destroyed in these people. So what these people couldn't experience apparently was fear. There was a guy, Kling, his name was, a scientist who basically went to an island off Costa Rica, kidnapped some monkeys, cut their heads open, chopped off their amygdala, let them out into the wild. They all died real quickly because they don't experience fear, they don't sense danger, they all got eaten by animals or, tried to jump too far and fell to their deaths. And then he repeated this experiment a couple of times. Really cruel, really nasty stuff. But then there's this condition where fat builds up around the brain, and the fat had destroyed the amygdala of this girl, who felt no fear. No fear whatsoever. So, for example, there was a situation where she was picked up by a stranger, thrown into a truck, driven to a barn, told to undress, and he basically got ready to rape her. She was calm. Imagine if you felt no stress or no fear, how boring life would be, right? So, then the attacker, the would-be rapist, hears a dog, and so he thinks, damn, there's a dog, I'm going to get caught. So he rushes back off to the truck. The girl gets up, dresses herself, calmly walks up to the truck, gets in and says, drive me home now, will you? She just doesn't feel fear. She doesn't sense danger. So then they take her into this treatment where basically they give her oxygen laden with higher than normal levels of carbon dioxide. And that made her panic, feel fear for the first time ever. This, and here's me saying more carbon dioxide is good for you. Increasing the carbon dioxide does this thing, basically you make the receptors that sense danger more flexible, which makes you more able to stay calm in the face of danger. There's Navy SEALs breathing exercises in there and everything. the best way to breathe, I'm on 9 minutes already. The best and the most simplest way to breathe. We all overbreathe. Overbreathing is, having too much oxygen in the body and not fully emptying the lungs is really bad for you. People have been killed from emphysema by being taught how to breathe properly, by the way. Emphysema, I'm not sure how to say it. One of those medical terms. But I do this now. I've been doing this for literally 2 mornings since reading this book, and I feel amazing. Okay, maybe it's a placebo effect, but I'll keep it up. If you give something a few weeks, then you get to see if the effect is real or it's just novel and placebo effect. And then when you keep it up for a few weeks, the effects tend to be amazing. So I'm going to keep it up. It's real simple. You breathe only through your nose, and you take 5.5 seconds to inhale, and then 5.5 seconds to exhale, and it's continuous movement. So it's not like breathe in, pause, out. It's in, out, in, out. Each breath takes 11 seconds. Sounds really simple, but try it, and you will feel amazing. The first day I tried it for 2 minutes. The second day I got up to 3 minutes. Today I did about 4 minutes again, but it was interrupted because somebody came down the stairs. And then the other one is there's this thing called tumo, which basically people can heat themselves. So, monks lying in the snow and melting the ice around them. They're only wearing a thin layer of clothing. And it's not just monks, because if you're like me and you have this sort of, oh, here come the stories about the miraculous monks, just for the hippie Westerners to think, oh, this is incredible. The shit is real. It's absolutely incredible. But this book, now for the last book I read, it was Kleptopia. The last book I reviewed, I said this book is breathtaking. This book is breathtaking. It's about taking breaths properly, and it really is amazing, and I thoroughly recommend it. And like I said, this one and Life Without Diabetes, I think, are the 2 books, if any, that I've read which will add the most years to my life. Unless it ends unnaturally. I get murdered or something. I get hit by a truck. I get shot. Really, really highly recommended. I'll show it to you again. James Nestor, Breath. And in the back of the book, there's actually a link to his online resources where he teaches the breathing exercises, which I'm going to get you. Oh, this is giving stuff away, isn't it? You should really read the book anyway. But here we go. Video and audio tutorials of these techniques and more are available at mrjamesnestor.com/breath. Hope you enjoyed that.